Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sara Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make tiny improvements to your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon. Hello and welcome to this episode. Today we are starting our second week of Set It Up September, where I am encouraging you to set up all of those things that you want to do next year, but use the last quarter to actually get everything in place so that when the new year starts, you can also start. So last week's episode was all about finances and how I chose to set up Profit First. That's the system that I use for kind of my shorthand money tracking, bookkeeping type of stuff. And I launched that at the beginning of the year, which was really, really nice. So if you are interested in kind of changing around the way you do money, you have a couple months to kind of read that book and get everything in place before you actually start implementing on the first of the year for 2022. And it is almost here. I can't believe I'm saying that, but these last few months are going to go really, really quick. So for the second week, I am going to talk about something that I don't have, and I'm almost recording this episode just as encouragement to myself, but I am going to take the next couple weeks to set up a cancellation policy and a fee structure for my business. So believe it or not, I have never had one. I have very few cancellations. I feel like in 5 years in business, I've probably had less than a dozen people cancel. I've never had someone not pay. I've just never had any problems in that area. I don't even charge a deposit most of the time. But this last month really changed my thinking on that, and I'm going to tell you why. So I book a lot of weddings. I do a lot of balloon weddings. I live in a resort town. So I think I do more weddings than probably the average balloon person, but I do a lot. And the thing about weddings is that they book really, really far in the future. So a year out is not uncommon for someone to want to book balloon decor. But because I don't want to plan a wedding for a year, and really I don't want to replan a wedding for a year, because that's what tends to happen. People book me early, then they change their colors, then they change their design, then they change where the cake table's going to go, and things keep changing. And I kind of tell them, you can decide on your balloons 2 months before. As long as I have your date saved, I don't really need to know what your final design choices are for the balloons until much closer. So I kind of frame the conversation like that. But here's why that really, I don't know, it didn't backfire. It actually worked out to my benefit. But this last year has been really odd. So in order to get brides to feel comfortable that they have me booked, but they don't have to start the planning process yet, I do charge a save the date booking fee. So that's what I call it. And it's $100. So that's why I take $100, and then I just kind of let it sit for, 5, 6, 7, sometimes a year, many, many months. They know that they have me booked because they've paid that $100 deposit. Then when the event gets closer, we figure out the details. That $100 obviously applies to their total, and we're good to go. And I've never, ever had a problem with that. Brides are the only people that I charge that deposit for because of the length of their planning. I don't charge a $100 deposit for someone planning an event next month, because most cases they just pay the whole invoice and we're good to go. But with COVID, this month alone, I had 4 brides that forgot that they booked me. It was kind of crazy. And kind of when I figured out the first one had forgot that she booked me, I started following up with all of my brides, because what happened was when the pandemic first hit, everyone just postponed. Everyone was like, we need a new plan. And they postponed their wedding for a good year. And I just rolled over their deposit and I said, we're good to go. We'll touch base closer to your wedding. So in the meantime, the pandemic got worse than anyone really thought. And then better. So some people had weddings. And now it's not great again. And just, I think this has just lasted longer than people expected. So a lot of the brides that had booked me actually got married. Like they had a wedding this year. They decided like they either wanted to just keep it small or they just went ahead with a full-on wedding. But because of all of the craziness of planning and replanning, and some of them move venues, I had a couple of people call off their weddings. Like, ugh, that's weird. But it happened. Long story short, I had 4 brides respond to my email and being like, oh my gosh, I forgot that I booked you. Or someone else was like, actually, we postponed for like another 2 years. We don't really know what we're doing yet. Someone else was like, actually, we called off the whole thing. And the thing is, none of them asked for their deposit back. I think probably they forgot they even paid it in the first place. So I collected $400 in jobs that I didn't do anything for. I didn't order, I didn't plan, I didn't do anything. Obviously, that's not like some secret to how I want to run my business. Like, I much rather would have gotten $1,000 from those jobs. But, I was really, really happy that I hadn't been saving a date for nothing. So I was really glad that I put that $100 deposit in place. And the irony is that, like, it was all brides, and I don't charge that for anybody else. I guess it's not irony. It's just a coincidence. And I was very lucky that because they were weddings, because I had charged that $100 deposit, when they canceled, I got something for that. Versus any other event that would cancel, I don't get anything. I just have saved that date for months, and then they cancel, and I would just kind of be out of luck. Or, worst case scenario, what if it's like the week before and I've already ordered all the product and they cancel, and that's just kind of it. So I think I am in the minority of people who don't have a process in place, but I'm just really, really being honest and letting you know I don't charge a booking fee. I don't even have language about cancellation. Like, all of these brides would have had the right to be like, well, can I have my deposit back? Because you never said it was non-refundable. Like, I don't have any language about any of this anywhere on my website, on my contracts. I have nothing. So I am taking the next couple months to really, really figure out what I want my cancellation policy to be. I don't want it to be so generous that people are booking me with the intention that they may or may not cancel. I don't want to open that door, but I do need to start collecting money earlier. And I haven't figured this out yet. Like, again, I record these episodes in real time. I haven't figured out the solution, but I am giving myself a couple months to figure out what that's going to be. So I've talked to a couple other people to kind of get a feel for what they do. Many people have the entire balance of their invoice due within like 24 or 48 hours. And I like that because I like getting money. But I also don't want to be a bank for people. Like, I don't like when people pay their entire invoice a year in advance, because then that year comes and goes, and like, I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm making any money when that job actually comes, because I've already received it and it feels like it's been absorbed into my bank accounts, which Profit First, going back to last week's episode, that helps me not get into that trap. But like, mentally, I like when I work really hard and then I get paid. I like seeing a boost in my numbers when I feel like I'm working my butt off, versus collecting a ton of money 6 months before I actually have to do the work. For me, I think that makes doing the work like feel more painful. Other people take a deposit similar to what I do. They take like $100 non-refundable save the date deposit. Allie from Charming Garlands, who was on the show, she takes a deposit before she even starts talking to people, which I think is really interesting. So she basically has people reserve their date before she even starts planning their event, which I totally understand, because I can easily go back and forth with someone like 30 times and then they don't book me, and all of that time has been wasted. Versus if people ask if you're available and you say yes and you charge them a fee to like book that date, then you figure out what type of balloons they want. That's an option that I'm thinking about. I think I might just kind of continue with what I'm doing inconsistently, which is collecting a small portion of the invoice within like 24 hours, like some sort of booking, like we are officially under contract together, and then having the remaining balance due like 2 weeks before. Again, I'm not like, I have a hard time disappointing people. I have a hard time sticking to rules that seem like a bummer. Like, I had a bride who, she emailed me and she said the groom called off the wedding 2 days before the wedding. So, could I have said, sorry, it's non-refundable? Sure. But like, I don't know. I felt so bad for her. She called me. She wasn't lying about it. And it was just like so devastating. If I can return like $100 to this poor, poor woman, then, that's my prerogative as a business owner. So I have certainly done that too. I break my own rules all the time. But in general, the vast majority of my clients don't pay anything until 2 weeks before their event when they pay the entire invoice. And then when they do that, I don't have a clear in writing statement about what is refundable, what is not, at what point they can cancel. Again, because I don't have a lot of cancellations. I really don't. But with COVID not getting better anytime soon, I also think like people are canceling more frequently because of COVID. They feel like they're doing like the honorable thing by not hosting parties last minute, which totally is true. I mean, if there's like a COVID outbreak in your family, you should not be having a party. But also, I, as the business owner who has already ordered and paid for your decorations, shouldn't get stuck with that bill. So like, I'm just trying to figure out some sort of policy that works for me. My comfort level also works for my business model. I'm not running a charity. I'm not just going to like give away all the deposits, all the balloons I've ordered, because there are costs associated with running your business up until the point you actually do a job. Like there's a lot of overhead that goes into being available for your clients and being able to order the quantities you need. So all of this to say, once again, I'm rambling, but if you are like me and you don't have a crystal clear policy, or if it's crystal clear to you and it's not anywhere on your website, or it's not anywhere that your customers are seeing, take a couple weeks and figure out what that's going to be. And I think 2022 is like the perfect time to launch that. Especially if you have something related to COVID, which I am going to put a disclaimer in my cancellation policy about COVID. Again, not exactly sure what the wording is, but I think we've been in this pandemic long enough that COVID shouldn't be like a get out of jail free card if someone just like decides to postpone a birthday party. It's like, well, okay, you could still have a birthday party for your kid even though their grandparents aren't coming. And like, I shouldn't now be, stuck with all of these dumb Thomas the Train engine balloons that I'm never going to use because that happened. So, yeah, if you're like me, check out other people's policies, poke around on their websites, talk to your friends on Instagram or just kind of in the balloon world that you network with. And I will be posting updates. I will let you know what I decide. I will maybe post some like wording. If you are not on my email list, make sure you subscribe to that, because that is where I'm going to post some of these updates closer to the end of the year. So you can click the show notes wherever you are listening and sign up for a newsletter that comes out weekly or like bi-weekly. I usually send episode updates, but that's where I can kind of post maybe some of the wording that people are using for their cancellation policies. And again, you want your policy to work for you. Like if you're a softie and you're trying to implement this like really rigid, really difficult policy that you're going to fold on, then like don't pick that policy. Pick something a little bit more easygoing. That's kind of where I am. I'm a bit in the middle there. But again, I don't have this in place and I want to have this in place by the end of the year. So I'm going to take the next couple months to figure out what works best for me. Please share your policy with me if you have something that you'd like me to share with everyone, or just you think that I could use. The best way to do that is either emailing me at TheBrightBalloon@gmail.com or on Instagram, either Wisconsin Balloon Decor or The Bright Balloon. I'm on Instagram a lot. So you can send me your policy and then I will share that in an episode update, because I think this is an area where we probably all could use some freshening up, especially with the way that the year has been. I need to figure out my policy. I know there are people out there that need to figure out theirs. So anyway, thank you for putting up with my rambling once again. I hope this is something that some of you can set up before the end of the year, and I will see you next week. That wraps up this episode. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I tried to keep it bright and light in a few minutes or less. I'll talk to you next time. For more information about any of the resources or courses mentioned in today's show, please head to TheBrightBalloon.com or check the show notes wherever you're listening.